This is Dr. Jana Price Sharps with Mind Pilot. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe. We're going to talk about pairing today. So what pairing is let's say your favorite meal when you were growing up was, I don't know, homemade burritos. And your mother made tortillas, and so you'd walk in the house and you'd smell that smell. And now if you walk into another family's house or somebody's house and you smell that smell, it takes you back to when you were a kid. Olfactory sensations, smell is very, very powerful. And that is an example of a pairing between smell and old, good, happy memories. Okay. So it's good and bad. Pairing could be used to remember good things, but unfortunately it also could be used to remember bad things. So you are on a highway and you come to a place where you have responded to a very bad traffic accident. And so suddenly the sight of that place, which is now paired with a negative event, and now you start feeling the adrenaline or the sadness or the frustration or whatever it is, or the combination of all that you felt at the time. And so how do you deal with that? Well, I call it closing the call, because what happens, as we've talked about before on this podcast, your brain, if it's still really bothered by a call, is still seeing that call as being open. And what that means is that it's assuming somehow that you may have to go back to that call, or that somehow that call is still happening, or it's still open. And so one of the ways to begin to deal with that is to close the call. But the other thing that is very helpful is you begin to pair that sight, smell, thing, whatever it is, with something else. So depending on what you believe and your belief system, maybe when you're driving by that old site, you can look at it and think, wow, the grass is really beautiful there. And oh, they planted a tree there. That is really pretty. Or you could go, you know what? It's very sad that little child lost their life that day. But you know what? I'm going to view them. I'm going to visualize them going on in front of me and having a really good life somewhere else. And depending on what your religious beliefs are, it might be heaven, it might be happy oblivion, it could be anywhere you want to send them. But see them going past you, in front of you, and now in a happy place, and they're okay. Close that call. That call no longer exists. There's nothing there of that call anymore. So it's important to close that call and now consider repairing that area with something that is positive. So maybe every time you go past that area, you turn on your favorite music. Maybe because smell is so very, very it pairs really well with our brain, and it's a very primitive part of our brain. So you might have like a car diffuser where you put a very beautiful scent in that diffuser. Maybe you really like the smell of pumpkin. I don't know. So maybe you put pumpkin oil in there, so every time you go by there, you start smelling the smell of fall. Or maybe you like the smell of pine trees, and so you put like a pine smell in the diffuser and put on some happy music. So you begin to not repair, well, I guess you're repairing too, but repair pair that sight with something positive. So you can do that with a number of things. For instance, I've worked early in my career with people that had been molested, and I still do on occasion. And one of the things that can happen is they don't like touch. So they don't like hugs, they don't like to touch anybody, they don't like to feel their own skin, let alone somebody else's skin. And so, one of the things that I might start having somebody do is buy a really beautiful smelling bath oil or bath gel. And so when they bathe, they can smell that gel, they can smell that beautiful smell, and then you pair that with what you're saying to yourself of, wow, this water is so nice and warm, I feel so good, gosh, that smells great. I've even had people put a beautiful smelling candle in the bathroom while they're showering so they can smell that smell. Again, smell is very powerful. And maybe put on some of their favorite music. So now the experience of bathing is a happy one, and a sense of touching their body to put soap on it is a positive one. So you can begin to shift things. If there's something that triggers you, whether it's a trigger of fear, a trigger of anger, a trigger of remorse, whatever that is, begin to fix it. Don't run from it. Because when we run from our brain, what we're telling our brain is it's still dangerous. And so our brain will react very strongly to that. So make sure that you think about what your brain needs from you, and then you start figuring out a plan of that healing process. What can you do to pair situations, people, smells, sights with something that is positive? One of the things that we always recommend, and you're probably going to hear me say this a number of times, is make an album on your phone of all the beautiful pictures. If you don't have beautiful pictures, then get out there and take a bunch of beautiful pictures with that phone so that you have an album that you can look at on your phone that just has beautiful pictures. Make an album of wonderful songs that you like. And if you really want to feel good, open up that album of beautiful pictures, turn on your favorite music, and diffuse your favorite scent. And you just start flooding yourself with things that are positive. If you're having a bad day or a down day, do that. Take 5 minutes. A lot of times it only takes 5 minutes, folks, and do that. It is amazing how much it shifts your mood, and it's also wonderful because it's going to start to close those old events, and so your mind is not so reactive. Remember that one of the major things that your brain does is to decide when you are in trouble, when you're in danger. And so it's going to use all its senses to figure out when you're in danger. And that includes sight, smell, touch, hearing. And so just make sure that whatever has been paired with it in the past, start breaking it apart and repair it with something else so that your mind is getting a clear signal. This is not dangerous. We're safe. We're okay. It's all right. And say that to yourself. One of the things that you can do, we call it reparenting, right? Become the parent to yourself that maybe your parents were or weren't. Some parents are great, some people aren't. Some people have skills at that and some people do not. But be that parent for yourself so that you're cooling your system down and saying things like, you know what, it's okay that I cool down. I'm safe. I don't ever have to go back to that event. I'm okay. And so consider adding repairing into your toolbox because it can have a profound effect. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Dr. Jana Price Sharps from Mind Pilot. Don't forget to subscribe.